I've got a bunch of notes that I've been scribbling down about affordable housing. I'll have to just sort of take the time to put them in like some sort of email or something and send it over to you, so you can see what's going on in this crazy little head too, because we might be working in the same direction, or, you know, we might have some different ideas, I don't know, but I'll pledge to do that in the coming couple of weeks.
Can I say something, Councilman
Yeah.
Galvin? My only concern about us selling is if we sell it to a developer, then we really, and that developer decided to, because we going through a little process right now on some of these properties on Sixth Avenue, and then the developer gets in there and started doing, you know, you have no control. You're really trying to help out your residents who we badly need to help, but where you lose that control over. So we gotta be careful how we do that, how we redeveloped it, and if we could do something with CRA. I know there's a list of folks who really need these housing, but I would hate for it to be in a developer, because you have this right now going on where I got a complaint where the developer came in and you know, the folks have to move out or
Raise the
do
rent,
some other
right.
stuff. Yeah, raise the rent, et cetera.
No,
et cetera.
that's-
No, and I agree. The problem is if we don't give it to somebody else, or, you know, maybe, I don't know what the agreement might read like, but I don't necessarily think the city needs to be in the business of building affordable housing. That would probably be too much of an undertaking. So some sort of partnership, some sort of sale, et cetera, to be continued.
That's why we said the city, we asked the city manager and the city attorney to bring a resolution about policies on how to sell those properties. That means we're gonna have to vote on it before we decide to do anything. And do you have a time frame when we'll be able to come with that list, and so we can decide?
Yeah, it's after the budget. I mean, the resolution's already prepared.
Not the resolution, I'm talking about the list of
the
property
list.
that the
I don't
city
know
owns.
where we are with the list.
Miguel Augustin, Finance Director. The list has been compiled, but it has to be, like I spoke to Councilman Galvin, various departments are working on this list to kind of stratify the list to come up with the properties that are, like you said, flood-prone properties, as well as those that are available for the objectives that you want to deal with affordable housing. So we want to make sure that that list is a clean list, proper list. So it's taking time between myself, our department, and community development, as well as building department as well, to get this list proper.
If I might ask, Mr. Manager, through you, please hurry that up, because you see, when we ask for information and we don't get it in a timely manner, we start coming up with our own wild ways to address things. And I know literally it's been 5 months that I've been trying to get that list, so it would be incredibly helpful if I could wrap my head around that.
Post haste, sir, post haste.
Waste Pro, there's a Waste Pro oversight position that's in the budget.
Yes, yes.
How much is that Waste Pro oversight position costing us?
The position's about $70,000. I'd have to turn to it. It is funded by Waste Pro themselves, though.
Why do we need, this is a very rhetorical question. I should be earning $70,000 a year for a number of phone calls I take on behalf of Waste Pro. People call me, I don't call our Waste Pro person, I call Waste Pro, or email Waste Pro. In today's day and age, I would argue we do not need $70,000, whomever it might be paying for it, because they're also probably drawing benefits from us and getting into the the state pension program via us. So there is a cost there. I would argue strongly that there should not be a Waste Pro oversight person, because if we have a problem, we call Waste Pro.
That's Public Works.
Right, we call Public Works, we call Waste Pro, we do whatever, but I strongly believe that there's no need for a Waste Pro oversight person who's making $70,000 a year.
Well, they're liaising with the vendor. They'll be managing the contract itself, but
Should we add a Country Bills
Well, no,
liaison?
no.
Should we add a liaison for every single
they're also
organization?
out on the street, so they're actually cases where someone puts out a miscellaneous pile that's not a Waste Pro pickup. They're on the street picking those piles up. They're dealing with issues with some of the condominiums that are saying, oh, this is someone it's not our building, but somebody illegally dumping.
That's why I do
So
call it
monitoring
West
those,
Road.
because a large part of their daily
Understand.
function is dealing with
I understand,
So
but I do
Waste
call
Pro
it
should
West
hire
Road.
that person, not us.
well, we wanted somebody, the
I know what went down and why we've got a position, so let's not,
Well, but-
I'm telling you right now, it's time to move on from that position.
Okay, well,
I don't know something I need to know. Oh, not here? Oh, okay.
I'm glad to put everything I know on the record about that position
well,
right now.
all I just wanted to say again, there's some,
Halloween is coming, there's still some skeletons around.
I'll leave it alone.
Okay, I just strongly feel it's not a necessary
That's why I
position.
do call
to
it
protect-
West Road there.
What
It's
is-
actually listed as a contract compliance manager.
Contract
And it's in the
compliance man.
contract that we have with Waste Pro, that contract that was a piggyback, except none of the other piggybacked contracts had same person or position in it. I mean, we're gonna beat up, I just was curious how much that Waste Pro oversight
on-
person was making.
On that note,
Let me see, can you ask
Can I
a
ask
question at the
something?
same time? No,
yeah, he
with
been
staff.
piggybacking on
Okay,
people's
in the
questions.
budget, we, last year after Irma, we had a crew working the street and clean it up.
Yep.
And the deputy city manager said they were gonna keep some of them
Mhm.
because we do need that.
Yes,
I don't see them anymore.
it's there.
They
It's
there,
budget.
they there.
How many?
I don't.
No, they're not.
What's the?
All of
They
them.
there.
Where?
No, they there. I
They,
know
How
they
many?
they
I
there.
were
don't-
let go. They were let
No,
go.
but they in this budget
They're
for
in
this
this
year.
Oh, you said budget?
Yeah, they
Oh,
in
I
this
thought you
budget.
said they've been, okay, you add them in this budget.
I
That's
thought
when
I
they're
saw
gonna
them.
be here. Okay, okay.
Yeah, because the residents was asking
No,
about
I'm
the
fine.
cleanup.
No, I thought you said they're still there.
No,
That's when they're
no,
gonna
so that
bring
was,
them back.
that was funded by a grant, a federal grant through,
That's
all right,
fine, we-
okay.
We understand that.
Can I still go, guys?
No,
Yes.
it's still going, yeah.
That's
Alright.
it.
How much money is Solomia producing this year fiscally?
They took $1 million from that money. for
We
police.
giving 16. Bio says police.
About, in FY nineteen, Solomia is 4.1 million.
4.1 million?
That
That's,
No. No, not including taxes.
When you say not including taxes, not in- property taxes, they also pay us. How much would
they're
you,
gonna,
how much do
they
you,
haven't
Fine,
paid
then.
yet.
how much do you estimate those property taxes are?
What's the
yeah.
Just this year,
Yeah,
just this year.
I have to look that up. I don't wanna give you a number. I'd have
Yeah,
to look it up.
appraisal.
Well, they haven't built yet.
No, I get it, that number's gonna astronomically jump. I mean, a year from now, 4.1 million, although it looks huge now, is probably gonna look like chump change, because next year it'll be closer to 10 million, and the next year's, so when we talk about,
I'll get that number for you.
right, I just wanna be able to knowledgeably answer questions. Obviously, that's a lot of revenue coming out of my district. I'm willing to share, but I also wanna make sure that we get stuff for District 1, which leads me to the community center that I've spoken with you about at the Solomia site, so to speak.
One quick, one
yeah.
little pin on the 4.1, that includes the Oaks payment, right?
Yes.
All right, keep in mind, a large part of that is the,
151.
the 151 payments, which was the old, it's not the
Right.
yeah, I know
It's
in our
still the
mind,
Solomia
Solomia
site,
site,
right.
but you get what I'm saying.
Out
Yeah,
of
yeah.
that 4.1, so
Yeah,
are you,
the Oaks.
We get the,
I thought we sent that money back.
no,
No, isn't
No.
that the
no,
check that you said you received?
no.
No.
No?
Every,
The
no.
check was close.
We got remember, you'll recall it,
Costco, yeah,
yeah,
Costco.
we'll recall it this way. The Oaks came and they wanted us to sell them the fee simple on the lease,
And we said no,
and you said no.
yes.
Right, it's the money that we get annually from the home, that's what I was talking about.
What happened to the Costco check?
It's in stasis. It's in stasis.
Who's Stacy? Why does she have this money?
Go ahead, sorry.
That's okay. So where do we stand, if anywhere, on a community center rec facility at the Solomia site?
So we are, myself and the city attorney's office are in lease renegotiations with the developer. And they've agreed to add that element to the development. We're working out some of the financial structures because there's some money due to come to us, so we kind of have to figure it out. But we're in active negotiations.
So when do I get to be part of the active negotiation, so to speak, and have some, I mean, I can do it from here, you
Right.
follow what I'm saying, but when does the community start to get excited? I mean, they're getting 32 new cops, why not put a cherry on top and say, and you got, by the way, you're getting a new community center?
It'll be after the budget process. I don't want you to get them too overly excited because we are negotiating, and I don't need pressure right now from them.
Oh, why? I should just be the one to take the pressure.
No, we're
But you
working
said you're in
through.
the process of renegotiation. You haven't
No,
come
no,
to us to say
they
what
came
you would
to-
like to see.
We came.
in
We
the
will.
negotiation.
We will. They came to us with some very specific items that they needed to adjust in the lease. We gave them some structural things. I don't want to get on the record right now that we needed to deal with them with regards to the development agreement before we go completely down that road. But you will absolutely individually and collectively get your opportunity. And it will be soon.
I also agree that with Councilman DeSulme, that the Pepper Park bathroom should take utmost priority, and I think he said there wasn't any money in here for that. Was that accurate? And if so,
There was $60,000 budgeted last year for the Pepper Park bathroom. That was from the first budget hearing last year.
this year, is there anything,
There's no additional funds for it this year, no.
But
does
they-
it need
we haven't
additional?
fixed it.
Does it need additional funds? Right, it hasn't been fixed.
Oh, they're still working on it. They're working on that. So the project was funded.
Uh-huh.
I need to find what's the status.
Is that what I'm seeing just to the south of the old bathroom that's sort of cut out?
The concierge,
On the-
Derek
sense,
Corker.
understand?
Parks and Recreation. The bathrooms were retiled and have new fixtures, new urinals, new sinks, and new toilets that were utilized for the funding of Pepper Park. If you're asking regarding the complete renovation of the restrooms, there was not a complete renovations. There were remodeling of tile, new tile that needed to be. There was broken chip tile that was in the restroom before. There was urinals that were not completely working properly, and there were sinks that were not working properly. So we remodeled the bathrooms at Pepper Park. Those have been completed, but there's not a complete renovation of the entire restrooms.
Councilman, you'd have my support if you wanted to go that route toward,
Councilman,
Doing something a lot more.
they could do whatever they want to do at this point. So I'll wait after I have my meeting with the
okay.
manager, then we'll figure out, because at this point, I give up. Because every year, you come up, you fight for the same thing, and you see nothing, but you look at the budget, you see everything but your priorities. That's why I think that, Mr. Manager, you should have met with us, get our priorities in here. Because Ms. Hill, I get a couple of more residents about the only swimming pool that we have in the entire,
District 3.
she lives everywhere in the city. The swimming pool is a disgrace. Why are you on there, Mr. Corker? There was some money 2 years ago. We had some nice rendering. I'm not even talking about Oleander because I don't know what happened with that
We have
money.
over 200 and something.
And that money still, is that still around, Mr. Manager? Is it still there? Yeah,
Oleander
Mr.
was a CRA project, sir.
And then what? No, okay. So we don't want to confuse it. But that money was. You remember when we met in my office with the architect, with the nice rendering of that was part of CRA.
Correct.
So when would that be? When is that project? That's almost 2 years ago from.
That project is gonna be beginning very soon. We have finalized with the contractor, and the date I don't have, but it will be within before the end of the fiscal year. I'm sorry, before the end of the calendar year, that project will be starting, which is the facade program.
Okay. So we have the facade, and also the playground at Pepper,
Yes.
and that's been funded, Councilman, 2 years or 2 years. It's just
Yeah.
too long. It's just the timing, because right now we're supposed to be looking at,
Trying to,
you got Sunkist Grove that's about to fall down,
That's what
that building, the Sunkist, that's Arthur, you say?
No, I say Scott.
Oh, yeah, Sunkist Grove, yeah.
Councilman is
Yeah,
next
go ahead, Councilman, I'm sorry.
all right, I think my last question for now, as I look at some of the parks programs, I see that, a lot of parks programs are historically not revenue generators. They're revenue losers, and ours are significantly losing money. But I think there are one or two that could afford to charge higher rates. And I don't mean Sasso Pool. Some of our East Side tennis programs probably could afford to pay a
All
little
of
bit
them.
more.
All of them.
When and how do we address that issue? Do we do it here in the budget, because that's when we normally set our fees, or where would you prefer that
That's,
be addressed?
I don't know legally how we would do it. I don't know if we have to bring back a resolution, but it is something that I've been browbeating the Parks Director about. So I'll gladly bring back a fee recommendation.
I've even heard from tennis players who are like, "Oh my God, this is such a cheap program.
Yes.
I'm thrilled to be playing here. Wow, I'd have to pay way more than this if I went to the city of Miami." And I'm like, "Okay." So I'd certainly be amenable to
Okay.
having that discussion, because I think that
You
some of those
shall,
programs.
you shall have it.
We should be raising them.
He already has a recommendation, so you will have it.
That is all I have for tonight, Mr. Mayor.
All right.
I left one line item out, I just want to bring it up because it's a big one. So on page 169, senior program supplies, $115,000. I kind of missed that.
That's taking the money from a page?
That's
From the-
supplies?
No, it's not supplies. I think they have everything.
169, line
Yeah, I saw
312.
that because it's not break down into field trips, the fund, and it's not break down, so when it sees supplies, they assume that they don't even have a building, so that's field trip, that's food, that's everything. That's operation, that's what it should be, but
Right,
they have it
it
under
shouldn't-
supplies.
it
The
shouldn't
budget
say
amount was based on the utilization last year.
Yeah, but it's not supply though, it's operation.
Yes.
As
Yes,
far as
that's what
lunch,
they need, yeah,
breakfast
lunch,
and thing like that.
yeah, field trip, you got every little thing in there.
Okay, you should kind of break that.
Correct
down, 'cause
that.
Supplies looks kind of like, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw that.
That's it. I'm sorry.
Mr. Manager,
Yes, sir.
I don't see Kiwani. Is it Kiwanis or Kiwani?
Kiwanis?
Kiwanis.
Yeah, I know. We
Okay, we talked about it. I told you that I was called by a couple of residents. I went there. Believe me, it looks very bad.
It's very bad.
The carpet in the top lot, and I think, well, I gotta go back there again. Even the lighting is
Oh,
off.
it's horrible.
Okay, and when I went there, a couple of kids were playing, 6, 7, 10-year-old kids, and believe me, it's a very big hazard. Sometimes, I always say it's best to prevent things from happening than having to answer to lawsuits. Because God forbid,
Not Judson.
if anything happens
We-
to some of these kids, while they're playing in the start lots, they're gonna be potential lawsuits. So it might cost us like maybe $50,000-$60,000, just
Oleander.
to do some renovation,
Oleander.
as opposed to exposing ourselves, to like,
Absolutely. That's
$250,000.
Oleander, Mr. Mayor, right? Oleander, that's the name of the
That's
park.
all. That's Oleander. It's called. No, it's
No, Kiwanis
It's-
is
it's
Judson, it's
the
Oleander.
one on 121.
Yeah,
121
Oleander.
and 16.
And 16, or 13.
No, kuto bay manje yan.
No,
Where you provide the food.
Where,
Judson.
where you have the soccer guy?
Oh, Mario, that is Judson. There's some part,
121 and 16.
oh,
Clyde, that's the Clyde Center, right?
yes.
Yeah. That's same
Really,
one.
that, oh, Lord.
Please add it, for me for the next meeting. And also, I don't seem to see any street and sidewalk improvement project.
It's minor,
penny.
they under,
Huh?
Have
they under
sense.
3, public works, it's
Transportation?
not much.
I understand that we don't have that much money, but what I always say, if I think there should be, like we started, we have a list. Don't we have a list of streets?
Still working the list.
I mean, we paid people to come up with that list for us, so we should put it to use. And I believe that at least every year we should tackle a couple of streets.
We
That-
do have some dollars allocated. What's the total between sidewalks and streets?
For our transportation funds are the gas tax, which we get about 300,000 a year, and then our surtax, which we get about $2.2 million a year, with a couple other small revenue sources that comes out to 2.5. So it's limited, and that's just our allocation from the state.
So about 2.2 2.1
Well, no, no,
for surtax.
what's the breakdown from your list?
Oh, from the project?
What's the page? Do you have a page number for that?
The
It's
sidewalk
about
is
281,000, 283,000.
100,000
4-1.
for what?
We
For
said
when
install
is that?
repair sidewalks. Yeah, 4-1. Transportation, I didn't.
For what?
Yeah. 400 and 4-1.
So it's, total, between the three categories, it's
Almost 9.
almost $900,000.
That's not enough money.
Well, keep in mind, sir, that we're using this year, we're advancing the 125th Street project that requires a very significant grant match.
That's that.
Well, we have to provide a grant match to that, sir. So,
Dollar for dollar, we have to match it dollar for dollar.
125th
how
and
much was it? Nine?
From I guess from the 5 point all the
No,
way
no,
down.
no, no, no. The one here.
John O'Brien, Transportation Manager. So the grant for 125th Street is 730,000. But we're also having to use city funds as well for that project. It's
What's the match? That was the number.
well, in this budget right now, there's $500,000.
Okay.
And for the general public, the 125th Street project is FDOT wanted to. I mean, was it FDOT?
Well, no, this is the
Well,
125th
initially-
downtown, not the 5 Points.
No. 125th. That's from the 5 point all the way down.
Right, from
To-
6th to 10th. That's
Yeah, from 6 to 10. Yeah.
the
but,
one that we're trying to accelerate to getting the money.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the one in the budget for 500,000 from the city part for woodland
Correct,
improvements?
yeah.
Okay.
Plus the 730 grants.
Okay. The reason I'm putting a lot of emphasis on that is, being part of the TPO board, a transportation, transit, traffic solution is a big thing for Miami-Dade County right now. For those of you who are following the TPO, last week we passed a resolution, to approve bus rapid transit for the south end of the smart plan. So it's coming up our way, eventually. And of course, John, the same discussion we always have about our part of the smart plan. They seem to try to shy away from it, and we have to stay as vigilant as possible to make sure that we don't get kicked to the curb. Okay, that's very important, and that's important not just for North Miami, but for the entire north end of Miami-Dade County. So yeah, so these we have, I don't know, maybe we have to sit down again, Mr. Manager, to see what kind of tombs we can roll, tombstones, and so we can get some more dollars for the street improvement projects, because that's very important for the city. That's all I got to say for now.
A quick question, Mr. Mayor, if I may. The $281 for roadway improvements, did you already identify the projects?
No. We have, remember,
I-
so
I-
we're working off,
Yeah,
remember
but
you guys
sometimes
just
it's in the
extended,
budget, but the
right,
money
in the
is
prior year.
you
So what
already-
we do is we allocate the money and then we come back and we say, all right, here's we continue working the list, by
But I
district
think
fact.
most of the time, something that's extremely important, instead of take 281 and spread it to 4 districts, it's better to have 1, 2, 3,
Just one
4
project?
years project. You have 1 year, you spend all the money in one area, the other year in the other
That's a
area.
good idea.
So we can see an impact of it instead
That,
of,
that is a very good option. The other one that I've also been mulling around is and trying to work on some capacity numbers. Whatever our residual is from the gas tax, we could actually do a revenue bond ourselves, get a larger pot, and then be able to attack the projects a little bit different. So, to give you a few options, and that's something that I can work with the FA tomorrow and come up with something.
Because in the budget, you only have 100,000 for sidewalk repairs.
Right.
Which is not enough. And I think,
Well, like I said, like
for
if
the
we,
second reading, and I see personal services, that represents 63% of the budget.
in transportation, that is,
The
what's the
personal
program?
services.
Or
from
what
the
are those
general
programs?
fund. Yeah, but, last year, we were at 58% now, 56, 58. Where we were last year? Where we were last year?
Last year was 56%.
56, 56. That's when there's an increase of 7%.
2017, it was 56%, 2018, it was 57, and this year it's 63%.
Yeah, that's an increase.
correct.
Yeah. 6%, but from 2017, is almost about 7%.
Yeah.
That's been in, before the, I think you're gonna, my recommendation for the next hearing, if we can down that 62% for the personnel, maybe reduce it by at least 5% so we can get money for capital improvement, that would be a good idea for me, in order to vote on the budget.
Keep in mind, though, that
Without cutting
allocation.
operation.
No, I got it. It is covering our in-house crew that does do, sidewalk repair and street repair.
That's fine, we don't have to cut
Crew
them.
outside for sidewalk repair. You said 80%
Let me,
of-
Mr. Manager, I have a
Sorry, I'm gonna let
Yeah,
you,
go ahead,
I'm gonna
Mr.
let
Mayor.
you go last.
no, go ahead.
The,
What is this?
also, can we incorporate street lighting?
FPL's doing that right now. They're replacing everything with LEDs.
Oh, praise
Yeah,
God.
Yeah, but
Everywhere?
also with the,
But to
along
start
the
with
same
the
line
street
of street repair,
I ain't starting no
if
district.
you remember clearly, we did get FPL to go around the city and identify a lot of areas where we need more lighting. And I never saw that come to fruition either. So this is a great opportunity for us to allocate whatever it is that we need. We need better lighting in the city. Please, make sure that's part of the, second reading. I think that's it for now. Go
Mr.
ahead.
Mayor?
Yeah.
Speaking of lights, I read something yesterday, today, about the county putting Wi-Fi in, putting somebody thought it was funny, putting Wi-Fi in the different light posts.
Oh,
They
that would be
actually have
good.
a bid out right now to provide free Wi-Fi to people through,
Mm-hmm.
the FPL light. It was a fascinating idea. Might be interesting to find out if they're including
You know-
us in this or what their timeline for that might be. I'm almost sure it was the Miami Today that's on the newsstand
Yes, sir.
right downstairs. I think I picked it up 2 days ago and just read it
You
this
know-
morning or last night. So
Councilman Galvin, in Budapest, everywhere, in every corner, that's what you have. They have the actual Wi-Fi on every corner, like where the old phone, I know it's in Europe, not all over Europe, not even, and somewhere in UK. But, I have a quick question regarding the elephant in the room.
You got it, what?
Well, I'm
I
about
thought
to
we already
bring.
talked about waste management.
Well, that's what it is. Half of it. So, with all these, and it shouldn't really be my concern, but it's kind of back there because we will go into this budget a little bit more detail tomorrow, because we got to talk about code enforcement, the enterprise, transportation, housing, purchasing, not really purchasing, the library and non-departmental, but the 750 that you guys are anticipating, I'm assuming that you balance the budget based on us putting it? Yes. Okay. I honestly think we really, you guys really need to kind of have that in the back of your head, because Okay,
I wrote that down, you gave me that.
okay, because I really don't see how that's gonna be possible here. That's just my little comment.
The way to address that, Councilman, is
Yes,
to
sir.
literally go page by
By
page
page.
and
Well,
say, I
let
cut
them-
this, I cut
yeah.
this, I cut this, and we
Because I don't
reallocate it
think
toward that.
you will pass that increase in these people utility when services is not really, I don't see any person supporting that. I'm just saying it, laying it out right here, right now, but, so you're gonna have that plus the priorities that you're gonna have to manage somehow, so you might be on, over $1 million on deficit on how we need to balance, but that's you guys with all the big pay.
What did you say?
If you vote for them
What
to
did you
increase,
say that?
I just told you what I just said.
Can you repeat it?
They requesting 750,000. They balance this budget based on the increase of the residents on the water bill. I don't see
That's
that.
what we say. You gotta say now instead of us paying it because we're still paying it.
No, I understand, but what I'm saying is, if it
That we are
doesn't,
subsidizing it now.
no, I understand what I'm saying, Mr.
You asked us to
Mr.
continue to
Councilman.
subsidize
No, I'm
that.
not.
All right.
Okay, yeah.
You already paid. Tell them you're already paying that.
Councilman, if I might sort of, but I get where I get where Councilman DeSume is coming from, because for years, we balanced, I'm so old. We balanced this budget for years on the back of our, emergency fund. Whenever there was a gap in the budget, they just quickly hubbub down there for a few minutes and came back and said, we took X number of dollars out of the emergency fund to plug the gap. And we all got to pat ourselves on the back and until that emergency fund dwindled to like $500,000 or less. We have now, for the last few years, not passed along the Waste Pro charges to our residents by dipping into the general fund in different places to pull the money out to cover that gap. I think it's time for us to stop passing the buck to future generations and to face up. And if that means we have to cut other programs to be able to move the dollars over, I would be down for that.
Yes, I am too.
It's just that we can't continue, we can't afford to continue to eat that cost every year, so that politicians can go like this to the,
I understand. Yeah, but we need to know that. Yeah.
Yeah.
cut it somewhere. I mean, if we have to, because the budget is balanced on that, but what I'm saying is that's almost $1 million that we're gonna have to cut, so.
To subsidize.
I'm sorry, it's just gonna have to be almost $1 million that we're gonna have to, to subsidize, to pay for it, because we have to.
We have to let the residents know that we are subsidizing.
They're gonna
It's
know.
not
Oh,
like-
they're gonna know. They hear, they text me, they watching, they know. They're not here, but they watching.
All right.
but the way we used to do that in the old days, again, was we literally spent, these budget hearings, if we're getting out of here now at 9:30 tonight, I'm stunned. It used to be that the first budget hearing dragged past midnight as we went line by line and then argued over line by line. So I will be going line by line. If you want me to come up with $1 million, I'll come up with $1 million. And I'll be ready at the next hearing. 2 million, but you follow what I'm saying. That's the only way. We shouldn't look to them and say, hey, you guys figure out what to cut, because I don't know what to cut. We should be the ones to decide, this is what we think, and then 3 of 5 says, yeah, that's what we're gonna cut.
I agree. And maybe at the next meeting, since this is everybody who's ready to go, we could do that. Because we don't know yet what, right?
Just, can I make a suggestion?
Yes, sir.
For the next meeting, each of us can actually come up with like maybe 1 or 2 propositions.
No, we don't have to
As
do
to
that.
how
Can we do that
to-
with the city manager, Mr. Mayor?
I'm gonna meet,
Okay,
And
you
then
mean with the
we
city
come-
manager?
And we do it
Yes.
separately.
Yeah.
And then we do it with the
Better like
public.
that.
Okay.
But I like the
So-
idea of
so-
Councilman Galvin, line by line.
So after we do that with the managers,
And then
so
we do
he,
it,
he'll
yes.
combine all of
And
them
do
and
it,
then
yes,
come.
one by one.
Okay.
We can vote on the addenda.
We could
All
do
right.
one by one. Okay.
Sounds great. Need a motion?
I don't know what's
Motion
the
to
motion.
We need a motion
Motion to adjourn.
to adjourn, or do we have
No, we
to?
have to,
with the
Oh.
direction,
Huh?
the pass,
The passage of the
proposed
first
with the
reading.
direction you gave.
What's the direction?
I'll make the motion
Second.
I have what's your motion, Mayor Joseph?
to accept to approve this resolution that was read on record with the proposed amendments.
Amendments.
Changes.
Okay, so I have a motion made to approve tab B with the proposed amendments as stated on the record.
We have been doing.
Which is
we
a
have
lot,
been doing the
Michael.
amendments.
I don't think we agree.
No, we didn't agree.
With the
No.
direction.
With
what
the
is the
with the
direction?
directions, I guess. Yeah, okay.
So what's your motion, Mayor?
to approve the resolution with
The direction.
the directions given to city manager and staff.
I have a motion made by Mayor Smith Joseph to approve that tab B with the directions made by the mayor and council.
Yes.
That motion was made by Mayor Smith Joseph. Do I have a second?
Second?
That second was seconded by Councilman Galvin. Vice Mayor Keys, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilman Bieneme?
Yes.
Councilman DeZume?
Yes.
Mayor Joseph?
Yes.
And Councilman Galvin.
Yes.
Item passes with a 5-0 vote.
So
Now,
what does
are we
that
gonna
mean?
go over the CBO? No, well, it wasn't.
Budget.
It's not part of the agenda. I mean,
We have to adjourn this one and start a new one.
Let me ask you this though, before we adjourn this meeting, Mr. Mayor. So what does this mean? By the next meeting, we will balance this and then
I'm-
that's.
So I will be meeting with you individually, going over the direction you've already given me, plus whatever other items we discuss.
Because we need to go over this.
That's fine, sir.
Okay.
I got plenty of time.
Okay, tomorrow.
motion to
So-
adjourn.
So you need to adjourn this.
Second, the motion to adjourn. Mr. Clerk.
No,
you-
that would be your motion.
No, that's my motion then. Motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second?
Hmm?
You waiting for
Meeting
my-
is adjourned.
Okay.
Now
Do we
to
leave?
call- now to call the